all that play, the movement was coming from right there. So both boots were torn on each side. There's play on each side. This rack is destroyed. Good morning YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a tutorial, straight up tutorial, no vlogging at all. Replacing a steering rack or a rack and pinion on a 96 Subaru Legacy. Should all be the same for pretty much any Subaru, all-wheel drive Subaru model. So stay tuned, tag along if you're swapping out your rack. And if you guys think this tutorial is helpful, leave a comment down below and let me know. Let's get started. Just kidding, not getting started yet. I gotta order a rack. I have two options here as far as purchasing a rack. I can go new, which would be, I think like a new one, Rock Auto's $230, $240, or I can go to the local wrecking yard, pull and save, pull one off myself, a good used one, for $26. This car is kind of a clunker. It's my girlfriend Bobby's car for the winter. It's kind of a clunker, so I'm just gonna run to the wrecking yard, rip one off real quick. So I'll check in with you guys in a minute when I get back home with the new rack. Alrighty guys, I'm back home from the wrecking yard. I picked up a really nice used rack and pinion or steering rack. What is the difference anyways? I don't freaking know. But I'm gonna go ahead, pressure wash it. It's in the back of my Forester right now. It's kind of greasy, but no torn boots or anything. So there she is right there. Gonna go ahead, pull it out, pressure wash it before I throw it on the car. I'm gonna go ahead and spray it down with some degreaser. If you guys want to pick some of this degreaser up yourself, I'll have a link down in the description box below. The best stuff on the market, so go ahead and pick some up. And spray it down really good, get it soaked in. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that soak for about 5, 10, probably like 15 minutes actually, and then pressure wash that off. It'll be looking brand new. Alrighty guys, it's been sitting for 10-15 minutes now, so it's time to pressure wash it off. Tools needed to complete this job: you're going to need a 12mm wrench, 14mm, 17 and a 19mm. All those are 12 point. A pair of wire snippers, 14mm socket, 19mm socket. For some reason I don't have the 12. It's over there. 12mm socket. I would highly recommend WD-40 or PB Blaster. A big ass hammer, a 1/4 inch drive extension bar. I believe that is a 6-inch one. A nice impact is always very helpful. If you don't have an impact, just grab a 1/2 inch drive ratchet. You're gonna also need ATF, so automatic transmission fluid. Okay guys, first thing we need to do, we gotta get the car up in the air, throw it on some jack stands, and get the front wheels pulled off. When you get the car up in the air, try to have the steering wheel as straight as possible so we don't have to mess around with the alignment on the knuckle too much. When we're putting the steering rack, the splines back onto the knuckle. Just try to keep that all straight the whole time. Alright, next up, you see those two lines that the camera's focused on right now? We need to spray those down with some sort of penetrating oil, so like PB Blaster, WD-40. Let that soak in and get those things all cleaned up. So I'll show you guys the reason I'm replacing the steering rack. Lots and lots of play in that joint right there. So that is the reason this guy's getting replaced. Now that we have the wheels off, we can go ahead and pull off the outer tie rod end from the knuckle here. So there's a cotter pin. We're gonna have to rip that out, pull off that 19mm nut, and then you're gonna take a hammer, a big hammer, and tap on that, or not tap on it, smash on that. There's a flat part right there. You're gonna smash on that a few times, and that will shock the arm right out of the knuckle. Go ahead, do the same exact process on the other side as well. Okay guys, this next step is not 100% necessary, but I find it a lot easier to go ahead and do this. So we're going to be loosening the front sway bar. So it's this bar here. And we're going to be pulling it off these lower mounts. So they're 12 millimeters, one on each side in the same place. Go ahead, pop those off and get that just twisted out of the way. You can leave it on the car. We're just going to remove these mounts from the lower control arm. Next up, we're going to have to remove this little plate on the bottom here. So there's 4 in total bolts holding it on. They're all 12 millimeter. The rear 2, there's just bolts, and the front 2, there's a bolt with a nut on the back side. Next up, this is certainly optional once again, but I'm going to be dropping down the exhaust manifold. So there's a bolt there, bolt right there, bolt right there, and then back there. Let's get it zoomed in on that. I'll be removing that bolt, pulling it off the hanger, and the whole manifold will drop down. Now it is time to pull off these lines. So grab your 19, your 17, and your 14 millimeter wrench and disconnect the upper lines from the lines that run to the steering rack or the rack and pinion. It'd also be a very good idea to now grab your drain pan and place it under where the fluid's going to leak out, because there will be some fluid leaking out of here. So while that's draining over there, we're going to have to go ahead and loosen this knuckle from the steering rack. And I cannot show you the bolt. It's on the back side of the lower part right there, that lower knuckle. But it's a 12 millimeter bolt, so go ahead and pull that bolt out and this knuckle will slide off. Alrighty guys, pretty much done. The last thing we got to do, pull off that bolt right there. There's one there. On the other side, there's identical, the same plate with the 2 bolts on it. All 14 millimeters, go ahead, pull those off, and the whole rack will come out of there. Now here's what the steering rack will look like when you get it out of the car. I'll show you guys that play we were experiencing. All that play, the movement was coming from right there. So both boots were torn on each side. There's play on each side. This rack is destroyed. So if you're going to replace this whole rack with the new one, you're going to need to take off the outer tie rods. So loosen that nut. It's a 19 millimeter nut. And what I'd recommend doing, just so you can drive it to the tire shop without destroying your tires, count the revolutions, or how many times this outer tie rod turns off before it pulls off, and just put it on the same amount onto the new rack. Being that I got that rack from a wrecking yard, I just stole the outer tie rod ends also, so I don't have to worry about that. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw that on right now. Installation's obviously just the reverse of removal. We're gonna throw the rack up on there, get those 4 bolts holding the actual rack on itself, and then connect the steering knuckle onto that, connect the lines, connect the outer tie rods, and pretty much done. After that, we're gonna have to bleed the system, guys. For those of you who want to torque everything down to the OEM specification with a torque wrench, I'll have all of that. Let's see, what should I do? I'll throw it on the screen, and I'll also throw it down in the description box below. If you guys saw this video is helpful, please hit that subscribe button right up in that corner. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Guys, I completely forgot to mention, when we're done with the steering rack replacement, we're going to absolutely 110% need to bleed the power steering system. I'm going to throw all that in a separate video like I mentioned earlier. I'll have it right up in that corner, so make sure you guys go check that out. See you tomorrow.